Hello, I'm live, and welcome to another episode of the only channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse, but actually enjoy it. And it's 5 o'clock. I think that's what time I said I was going to do this. Ala Toledo is MIA right now, which is easy to do. So we'll just get started as soon as I get a few people here. Well, we got 2 thumbs up and 2 people. I wonder if that's counting me, because I see Rick's over there. And yeah, it is starting on this page. Today, I actually figured out how to do that. And I think I might have done that before, but I don't really know. But this time, I do believe that I've got this figured out. There he is. Carlos is here. I asked him to remind me of some stuff, so we'll see if he does that later. No point in reminding me now because ain't nobody here. And there's Patricia. Good evening, SNC friends and family. Good evening, Patricia. I guess if my cord would reach, I would put my camera over there by the comments, so that when I'm reading comments, I'll be looking into the camera. Cool, it works. That's from Rick Ballard. I guess while I'm here, you know, I should keep a brush over here by my chair, so that, because I never remember to do any of this stuff before I come on. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Well, we've got 10 people here, and I do not really have a subject picked up yet. But I got a few things I'd like to talk about. Let's see here. Oh, hey, Strangefoot and Matt Wilcox is here. One of the things, if you noticed, the thumbnail for this live stream was like a really funny looking painting from like 500 years ago of somebody that I don't know if they were really looked like that, or if these people were not as rich as the people who could afford good painters. But I'm going to read something. It's a picture of Obama. I came across this one. All I did was type in funny pictures to pick me out a thumbnail, and this one came up. It said, it's a picture of Obama, and it says, it's Obama's last day. He better get busy if he's going to impose socialism, Sharia law, FEMA camps, mandatory abortions, and death panels, declare martial law, wreck the economy, force us all to get gay married, and confiscate all our guns. I have no love for this man or any other politician. They're all evil. They're all going to be destroyed very soon. But the point has to be made that I think they're saying a lot of this same kind of stuff about the guy that's the president now, as if somehow the person that's the president determines what course our great nation takes. The reality is that all of this stuff has been scripted for the entire 6,000 years that civilization has been in force. And it does not matter who gets put up there. When he's handed the script, he will read it. And so if they ever do confiscate guns, it will be because that's part of the script. If they ever start throwing people in FEMA camps, it will be because it's part of the script. It will not be because we got a Republican for a president, or a Democrat for president, or some kind of odd group of people in Congress or the Senate. It'll simply be because it's time. You know, when the end of the world comes, it's not going to come because some politician messed up. The end of the world is going to come because it's time for the end of the world. And that's scriptural. All right, let's see who else has come here. All right, same here, Kentucky. That's from Rick. I had to shovel a path for my dog to get to the yard. I did not, because it never snows here. Very rarely. When it snows here, we get happy about it. That's how rare it is. Oh, there's Marie. Marie's vegetable garden. Hello, Marie. And Patricia is in northern Ohio. there's somebody out there listening right now that's an important information, because we were trying to figure out how many of our subscribers are in Ohio. Because I'm really, really hoping to one day be able to take a trip. And I was thinking, if I do, I'll probably go to the Carolinas and just park somewhere for a while to meet everybody that's in Carolina, because I know I got a couple of dozen subscribers over there, or half a dozen maybe. And then I'll just shoot on across to Ohio and visit with subscribers in Ohio, and then come home. Not a day trip, but not a real long trip. All right. Marie Miller is in Michigan. I will not be going there. Well, I may, just won't be my first trip. Jared Bolgen, hi S&C. I'm only 30, probably the youngest here. I'm from Wyoming. You probably are the youngest here, unless my friend Jake shows up. He's 15 years old. And Marshmallow's here. I made it. Hey, everybody. Still going to fix the bus or sell. Well, let me tell you. Okay, now we can go into our regularly scheduled programming. Over the last couple of weeks, things have been happening here to alter the way I do business. And without going into a lot of details that'll get me in trouble, I've decided that I no longer want to have a bank account. And I've had a bank account since I was like 16. I mean, I have a bank account, checking account, but I had a savings account. Whereas actually, well, without going into any details, I am suddenly just dumping all of the money I've ever had. And one of the things that's happened is I got a car, a brand new car, brand new 4-year-old car from my mom. My mom was going to trade in her car. She knew I loved her car. It's been in her garage the entire time she's had it. She's only put 46,000 miles on it. It's very beautiful. And the car I had was starting to cause me problems. So I had to fix the problems, but I didn't want to. But now that I'm selling it, I am fixing the problem. So that's what I've been busy with for the last couple of weeks. Putting new brakes, new bearings, all new belts and hoses, just everything that could possibly go wrong with the car, I've been replacing. It didn't really cost me that much, because I've got a friend that's always does me a good deal on working on my cars. And it's now I'm waiting for one last part to come in. I'm going to put that car up for sale. And my mom's going to take that money as payment for this really, really nice car. So anyway, I got a 2000. Let's see what's over here. Wow, the Watchman News is over there. Okay, that's pretty cool. Kitcha Cool has made it again. I don't know how he does it, but he does. And Marshmallow says, lol. She knows about my money situation. But anyway, yeah, I got this car. And so I'm trying to get everything in this new nice car set up, because I'm always hauling hay and animal feed and stuff like that. And this new car looks like a new car. And so I'm trying to get a trailer hitch on it, and so I can have my rack for the back or pull my trailer, and that way I don't have to put a bunch of nasty stuff in the car. But I'm also getting those cargo area, the plastic thing that you put in a cargo area so that you can put things in there, and if it leaks, it doesn't leak in your car. So I'm doing all that, but I'm doing all that from other car. And the bus, as soon as I get that car sold, my mechanic friend is going to come over here, and we're going to start the bus. And then he and I are going to go to a neighboring city and talk to the man that runs a tire shop, because my mechanic friend knows that guy. And we're going to try to get them to come over here with one of their tire changing road vehicles and put 6 pretty new tires on the bus. At that point, I'll have a running bus. But I'm one of those guys that kind of just follows signs. I don't try to struggle against the way the system works. I don't go out there and vote to try to make the world a better place, because I know it doesn't make the world a better place. But I went down and I tried to get tagged for the bus, which I already had a tag for the bus. I just tried to renew it, and the people there would not renew my tag, because they said I had it tagged as an RV, and it's not an RV, it's a school bus. So I have to get a commercial license and commercial insurance, which is all wrong. But, it's like, it's always a gamble. When you go to the courthouse, get a tag for a converted school bus, you never know who's going to be there, and you never know who you're going to have to deal with. So it's one of those things where if they say that, you just walk out, you wait for everybody to quit their job, and you go back when there's a new crew and apply again. But at the same time, I went down to get insurance on the bus, and they denied me insurance. So I've got 2 strikes against the bus. The bus is really big, and I was talking to Carlos today about it. It's still like a dream, but it's going to be a dream for like, I need to have something here, a vehicle that if something happens to my house, I have a place to stay. Or if my mom, if my mom goes and has surgery and she wants somebody to come stay with her, I can take my bus over there and I'll have my own little place. I can stay there. And that comes up from time to time. I've had to go stay with my mom several times. And also, if there's a hurricane, to be able to just pull my bus up and plug into my mom's house and provide current for her house while we don't have electricity, because always that's the first thing that goes after a hurricane. All right, let's see here. Okay, nothing new. We'll go ahead and get into something else I'm working on, in case you're wondering what I'm doing with all the spare time. I really haven't been able to think clearly, so I haven't been writing, but I went back and I was looking at the Melchizedek video series, and part of the Melchizedek video series is identifying Jesus. That means identifying who he is. Because Jesus did not just get created 2,000 years ago by God. Jesus is not God Almighty himself, but Jesus is a very powerful person who has appeared on this planet in the ancient past. And so we're going to prove for a fact who he is. But in the meantime, doing a little bit of research, I've figured out who Jesus was in the 1st century. And the reason that's important is every religion on earth teaches that Jesus, no one knows anything about Jesus' past. You know, as a child, we know that he went to the temple once and got lost, and we know how the circumstances of his birth. And then the next thing we hear, Jesus is coming in to start his ministry, getting baptized, turning water into wine at a wedding. Well, that's not the case at all. The Bible is very clear about a whole lot of details about Jesus' life before he became the Messiah, or before he began his ministry. And so that's going to be part of this upcoming series. I'm going to have to completely separate everything about Jesus from the Melchizedek script, because it's just too involved, and I don't want to have Melchizedek end up being a 20-part series, and especially since a lot of the details about Jesus are not part of the Melchizedek narrative. The book of Hebrews is all about Melchizedek, so I am going to do a part 5 or 6 or 4, whatever it is, of Melchizedek, and it'll be about the book of Hebrews. But all the stuff about Jesus is going to be its own series. Who is Jesus? And it's probably going to be 3 or 4 parts. But one of the things that I came across in my studies of what Jesus' early life was is I found out that Jesus had a last name. Because he was, even though his father was God, his adoptive father was Joseph. And Joseph had a last name. And that name is recorded in the Bible. And it suddenly occurred to me that Jesus' last name is extremely important to understanding the role that Jesus played. So we'll stop right there while I read comments again. Propane power generator? No, I don't have any generator in the bus at all right now. But if I get one, I'd really like to get a diesel power generator so that the fuel tank for the bus is the fuel tank for the generator. Whether or not I'm able to do that, I don't know. In fact, the bus that I have currently, I really would like to just get it built and get it out of here so I could get my dream bus. You know, I'm really tall, and so I don't need an older bus that's really short. I need a bus that's got some headroom in it. And so if I really put a lot of effort into something like a lot of solar panels, a diesel generator, all that, it's going to be a different bus. All right. Uh-oh. I had a very, Jared Bulgen. I had a very creepy dream 2 nights ago that Trump was the Antichrist. I have been having dreams since I was a kid that all the planets were as close as the moon and everyone was outside freaking out. Well, you're probably close on both of those. I don't believe Trump is the Antichrist, but I do believe that he is very, very closely involved with the Antichrist, and the things that he's doing now, the parts of the script that he's being told to read, involve setting up a future where the Antichrist can just step in and fix things. But that's true of every president and every king, every pope. They're all doing things to prepare the world for the coming God of civilization. Honestly, I'll tell you what I believe is that the Antichrist really believe this. And I hate to even say it because I'll probably be proven wrong. But it looks a lot, since your name is Jared, I feel like it's a sign that I'm supposed to tell you this. The Antichrist name is Jared. And it's Donald Trump's son-in-law. He's like one of the most powerful men in the world. He never gives interviews. Whenever people ask him questions, his bodyguards beat him up. And he's like one of the most powerful men in the country, and he's got dual citizenship. He's Israeli and American citizenship. Now, along with that, is some other weird stuff that I've figured out is that, if you go look, there's no mainstream Bibles have this name of God in it. In the Bible, we talk about Jehovah. And some people say Yahweh, and there's a big fight over whether the true name of God is Jehovah or Yahweh. I don't think either one are. Jehovah and Yahweh is the name of all of the gods combined. Our God is Yah, which means am. Jehovah or Yahweh means to be. Our God is not to be. Our God is. And in fact, that's what Moses was told when he asked, who should I say is sending me? And God told Moses, Yahweh is sending you. Actually, Hayah. And so Moses went back and asked him, who is sending me? And he told him the second time, Yahweh. So these are two different words. They're not a name. They're not a proper name. But both of them mean to be. So once Christ died, and did what he was supposed to do, and God made it impossible earthwide for anybody to follow any of the religions of the past by changing the perception of time, eliminating all of those rituals. Then he became I am. And also, at the end of Armageddon, after everything is done, is the first time that word is actually used in the Bible. It says Yah. Hallelujah is the word that's used, and so Yah, even though Yah appeared in the book of Psalms, it was prophetic. In the book of Revelation, it's prophetic. But getting back to Jared and his father-in-law, Donald Trump purchased the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society's printing organization. They had this thing out in New York. It was hundreds of acres, lots of factory buildings and places for people to live. And they printed a Bible that had the name Jehovah in it. It's the only mainstream Bible that consistently used the name Jehovah throughout the Bible. Well, at the same time, Jared Kushner purchased 666 Fifth Avenue, which is the place that distributed the Jerusalem Bible. The Jerusalem Bible is the only mainstream Bible that consistently uses the name Yahweh. So there they are. Donald Trump and Donald Kushner, in about the same time period, took control of all of the printeries involved, or all of the printing establishments involved in printing Bibles with that name in it. Very weird thing to do. You would not expect anybody to do that, but they did. And in fact, the building that Jared Kushner purchased was at the time the single most expensive real estate purchase in the history of the universe. So that's why I think Jared Kushner is very, very likely the Antichrist. But it could be that Donald and Jared are working together to introduce some other third party Antichrist. Yeah, Patricia says all rulers are Antichrist, and the Bible says that. That's scriptural. And in fact, there is nothing in the Bible about the Antichrist. The word Antichrist in the Bible is always about multiple people, but there are references to one individual being worse than the rest, and he's called the man of lawlessness. And I think the man of lawlessness is just Satan, but Satan was in the flesh in the past, and apparently will be in the flesh, or is in the flesh now. You know, he hasn't taken his throne yet, but he's already in his body. Okay. Yeah. Jared Kushner is Trump's handler. That's another thing that's very weird about this. This guy's like 38 years old, 37 years old, and he's the one that tells the president what to do. You know, in the past, the script writers were always kind of in the background. You didn't really ever meet them. But it seems to me that Jared Kushner is, who everybody knows, is the script writer for the Empire now. All right. I'm in rare form talking about who Jesus really was and how he's going to get his bus running in case there's a hurricane. Yes, I am. I'm on top of it. I'm on top of my game tonight. Kelthor Helios. I always felt the current pope was the Antichrist. Well, you know, I don't know if you know this, but in the Bible, Antichrist is called Helios, and that's in the Hebrew language. The Helios is like the enlightener, and it's where we get our word halo, like you see on the heads of saints in art. But that comes from the planet Saturn. The planet Saturn has rings around it, and those are called halos. But in the Bible, Helios the enlightener. Helios is where we get the word Lucifer. If you look up the word Lucifer, which I think is in the King James Bible and a couple of others, and you look at what the Greek or the Hebrew word is, Lucifer is from Helios. And Helios means Osiris. Osiris means the bearer of the eye of enlightenment. And Helios means the bearer of enlightenment. So that's one of the reasons I believe that Helios or Lucifer is Osiris, but they're centuries apart. You know, one is before the flood, one is after the flood. But I think that would be some Antichrist. You know, maybe Satan in the flesh was Osiris. Later, Satan in the flesh was Lucifer, Lucifer being the king of Tyre. All right. Oh, Jared looks like the Antichrist in the Left Behind series. That's one of the things I've always said when people keep saying that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I think, well, why would Satan want to enter the body of a fat, bald-headed, dying old man? You know, just being rich is not everything. He'd want to be rich and good-looking, and Jared Kushner's like a good-looking dude. He's young and healthy, and everybody's putting their faith in him. All right, let's see here. Kushner is just another Kenite. I think that could pretty much be said about anybody who says it. You know, the Jewish people were wiped out in the first century. When Jesus died, you know, it was like a year later, or several years later. You know, they killed Jesus on the Passover. We'll get back to that in a minute with Barsabbas information. But in the ancient past, God, you know, the Jews were given an opportunity, the Israelites were given an opportunity to live by God's natural law. So Moses brought them the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments were on stones that were given to Moses by God, carved with the very finger of God. 10 Commandments, natural law, and the Jews said they would live by that. But when Moses came down, they were already involved in religion, which is not natural at all. And so Moses broke those stone tablets and went back up. And this time God says, I'm not giving you any tablets. You bring your own tablets and you carve them yourself. And so he come back with 600 laws carved into some man-made stones, which is basically what all laws are today. The religious law, economic law, governmental laws, all the same thing. It's man-made nonsense that's put into writing to make it seem like it's more important than reality, and it isn't. But one of the laws that was put in there was the law of the scapegoat. You had two goats. One was the goat for Jehovah, and the other was the goat for Azazel. The priest would put his hands on these two goats or two rams, and arbitrarily one was chosen to be executed. So they sacrificed one of the goats. The other goat was brought to the edge of town and released into the wilderness. So it was exiled from Israel. The other one was killed. According to the Bible, by the time Jesus came here, that tradition had made its way into ritual human sacrifice. And so when Jesus was brought before Pontius Pilate, another man named Barabbas was brought before Pontius Pilate, and Pilate gave the people the opportunity to choose which one would be executed and which one would be the scapegoat. And so they chose to execute Jesus and release Barabbas. The thing about it is, a lot of people put their faith in Barabbas because he was a strong political leader. A lot of other people put their faith in Jesus because he was a strong leader as well, just not political. And so in the end, it was Jesus that ended up being killed, which was set from the beginning of time. It was not like there was an opportunity here for him to be released and Barabbas to be sacrificed. Well, anyways, most English Bibles say that the man brought there was named Barabbas and that the man that was killed was named Jesus. But that's not the case in the original ancient text. In Greek, it says that the man who was released was named Jesus Barabbas. The man who was killed was named Jesus Barsabbas. Only one letter difference, not much. And that was one of the rules about this scapegoat and this sacrificed goat, is that the two goats had to be almost identical. They had to both be perfect in form. Both had to be perfectly healthy, no broken bones, no blemishes whatsoever. And so Jesus and Barabbas filled that role in the human version of that ritual. Now we'll go back and read some of this for a minute. Why Henry? I don't know. I don't know what I was saying when that was wrote, so I don't know. Anyways, yeah, John Casey, left behind. I think the idea of the rapture is completely bogus. It may and it may not be. It's not scriptural. But yeah, I find that a lot of times things that are not scriptural are still true. You know, it's one of those things. But it's not like we're going to be raptured into heaven. I think it's going to be what the religious people experience. They're going to be exiled from this planet along with the goat for Azazel, or Satan as he is known, and they will all be sent to dwell together. Maybe. Don't really know. I know that in the Bible it talks about God separating sheep from goats, or Jesus separating sheep from goats like a shepherd. If you read that in its original languages, it seems to be a lot about the scapegoat ritual. And I don't think it's about sending people to hell. I just think it's about separating those who love civilization from those who want to be left alone, which would be us, hopefully. All right, let's read a little bit further here. Okay. So your real name isn't Helios. Okay, I understand that. I kind of felt like that. Anti is opposite, the opposite of Christ. So the Pope and many others are anti-Christ. Yes, they are. And there's something I asked Carlos to remind me of. And now he's going to be wishing he had. But we're supposed to have an eclipse tonight. My mom called me to tell me about it. My wife told me about it. But I think it's just a blood moon. I'm not really sure. Carlos says it's a blood moon, but it may be a full eclipse. If you live somewhere that has clear skies, that might be fun to go watch. I think my wife said it would peak at midnight. And if I'd have thought, I'd have looked it up to see what the accurate information is, but you can look that up for yourself. Good night, Rick, if you're still there. He says, I'm going to go lay down. Okay. Oh, yeah, Barabbas means son of the father. That's Patricia Rabbinic. And guess what? Barsabbas means son of rest. It's like the Sabbath. If you Barsabbas means son of rest. And I'm not really sure about the, according to all of the dictionaries, lexicons, Barabbas means son of the father, but it's not Bar-Abba, it's Barabbas. And to me, that's like son of my father or son of the fathers, plural. So, you know, you've got throughout history, there's been many warnings in the Bible about following fathers that are not our heavenly father or not our biological father, Adam, or our father, Jesus, but following these other fathers, the ones who are the fathers of their countries, these politicians. And so Barabbas would be son of those fathers. Barsabbas, Jesus, Barsabbas would be son of rest. Or as it says in some dictionaries, a son of comfort, some son of contentment. And so, you know, that's the distinction between Barabbas and Barsabbas. Both are Jesus. Jesus means Yah saves, or Yah's salvation. Yah salvation, son of comfort. Yah salvation, son of the fathers, or son of my father. Yeah, will the time come where God will give people the opportunity to walk away from civilization? I don't know. But I know this, that when Moses took the Israelites out of Egypt, they were miraculously cared for. All of their needs were met without any work. And that's indicative of the fact that God was taking care of them. And it may be that all of our needs will be taken care of the same way those Israelites were taken care of. And one of the things I was looking at is there's a lot of scriptures that make it seem like we're going to have it bad and they're going to execute a bunch of us. But there are scriptures that say that that's not going to be the case. One of them says that, what is it? This generation, this is in Matthew chapter 24 or 28, says this generation will by no means pass away before the end comes. And so the generations it's talking about, you know, a lot of religions think that generation Jesus was talking to. He wasn't talking about that generation of his, but the generation that sees the planets realign will not pass away. Meaning that either that group of people as a whole will not pass away, or that each and every individual that starts on that journey will not pass away. You know, I always figured if I could just get to that day when everything changes, got it made. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Blood moon. Carlos McDermott has gone and looked, and he says it is a blood moon. It's not a actual eclipse. Yeah, and most people are like me, experiencing dark, thick clouds. I don't think I'm going to be able to see it. Carlos says it's got clear weather where he's at. It is a 21 degree. We'll watch a full live, warm in the house. Yeah, okay, that makes good sense. Kansas City Chiefs or New England Patriots? Pinterest just sent me a message saying there's pins for me. Is that a football team? Is this something to do with the weather, or is this sports? Oh, and Tony Lynn made it here. Okay, that's very good. I'm glad she's here. All right, now we'll get back to the how we know about Jesus' family and Jesus' family name. This is going to be a really big one, and it's difficult for me even to imagine the reaction of those who actually see the series when it comes out. But when Jesus was preaching, the religious leaders questioned his authority to teach. And so at several verses, it says, who is this man that we should listen to him? Is this not his mother, Mary? And in fact, most English Bibles say, is this not the son of the carpenter? Well, that's spurious. That verse is not anything like that. It's not in the Bible, in the original languages. But then it says, are these not his brothers, James and Joseph and Simon and who was the other one? James and Joseph, James, Judas, and Simon. Okay, so those four guys, Joseph, James, Judas, and Simon, are mentioned in several other verses together throughout the Bible. And in some of those verses, they're the apostles. And we're supposed to believe that Jesus' brothers did not believe in him. That's not scriptural. The scripture that says that Jesus' brothers didn't believe him is absolutely misinterpreted. Those 4 men that were there were 3 of them were his apostles. Joseph was not, but Joseph was a very strong disciple. He ends up in several other verses. And in one verse, it talks about Joseph being given the privilege of doing some special assignment. And it calls him Joseph, who is surnamed Barsabbas. But then a little later, it says that Judas was given special assignments. Judas was an apostle. And it says Judas was surnamed Barsabbas. Most religions acknowledge the fact that this Judas and this Joseph were brothers, but they don't acknowledge the fact that they're the same 2 brothers that were the brothers mentioned as brothers of Jesus. So these guys that were there were acknowledged as Jesus's brothers. And the Bible clearly says that everyone thought that Jesus was the son of Joseph. So these brothers weren't just children of Mary, they were children of Joseph and Mary. And since Jesus was acknowledged as the son of Joseph, he would have had the same last name as Joseph, Jesus Barsabbas. Now, a problem we're going to have with this is that a lot of people in the Old Testament do not have last names. You know, Adam and Eve didn't have last names, but at the time, you know, it would have been difficult to have confused Adam and Eve with some other couple named Adam and Eve, so they probably didn't need last names. But as time went on, eventually the number of people grew, and so people would start calling others, you know, Jacob, the son of Isaac, Isaac, the son of Abraham, so that you would know that which Jacob we're talking about or which Isaac we're talking about. And one that is in particular seemingly was an actual last name in the Bible. Often in the Bible, King David is called David, son of Jesse. Well, that's not really true. It's called David, son of Jesse once, I think. The other times, most of the verses about him at that particular time, he's not even called David. He's called son of Jesse. In Hebrew, it sounds like in English that that's a description. They're saying the son of Jesse. But in Hebrew, all it says is Ben Ishay. Ishay being what we translate into Jesse. Ben being what we translate as son. Jesse, actually, Ishi is probably important because of the Ishi that David was the son of. Ishi, Aish, means male tribal leader. So in effect, Ben Ishay means son of the male tribal leader, which would describe David as the son of his father Ishay, but also as the father of God, because in the Bible, in prophecy, it says the day will come when you will all call me Ishay. This is God talking to mankind. There will come a day when you call me Ishay, and you no longer call me Baal. So we're talking about the male tribal leader. Ben Ishay means son of the male tribal leader. It's a time when we all acknowledge that we are sons of God, which means we have to, by default, acknowledge one another as brothers and sisters. In our day, there's a very, like a lot of people have the name Ben Ishay. And it's spelt exactly the same as in the ancient Hebrew. And in fact, some people in some countries call themselves Ben Ishay, 2 words. Others, it's just Ben Ishay, 1 word. But in others, it's Ben Ishay, 1 word with a capital B and a capital I. And others, it's Ben hyphenated Ishay. Many of the thousands of people named Ben Ishay today who live all around the world are probably related to King David. Now, another thing that Peter gets called, Simon gets called, is Bar-Jonah, Simon Bar-Jonah. And so we don't know if that's his father's name was Jonah. We don't know if his great grandfather was the Jonah of the Bible, but they're spelled exactly the same. It's very likely that this is just my take on it. Very likely that Peter was called son of Jonah because of he acted like Jonah, or he fulfilled the role that was portrayed by Jonah. And you know, if you go back and read the whole book of Jonah, it's only like 4 pages. It's pretty easy. You can see that Jonah was given an assignment and then he walked away from the assignment. But in the end, he came back and he fulfilled that assignment. Well, that's basically what happened to Peter. So Simon Bar-Jonah. Jonah, in our Bible, there's a bunch of Jonahs. We don't know about them because they're transliterated into English in a messed up way. Jonah is Jonah. But everyone in the Bible that's named John, in the original languages, their name is Jonah. So John the Apostle, Jonah, John the writer of the book of John, you know, that writer of the Revelation, John the Baptist, those were Jonahs. And so if we take the fact that Jesus called Simon Bar-Jonah, which means son of Jonah, it's very likely that many of the people on our planet today named Johnson are somehow related to Simon from the Bible, because Johnson is the same as son of John, which is exactly the same as Bar-Jonah. All right, we'll stop for a second and read some more comments. The last blood moon. Nah, we got plenty of them coming. Don't worry about it. The last blood moon that we get is going to actually be a blood moon. See, we call these blood moons by tradition, but a blood moon is only like pinkish orange. Kind of looks like Mars. It's not that bloody, not that red. In the Bible, the blood moon that's coming is as red as blood. Red as blood is not the same as the current blood moons we experience now. Doesn't mean that we don't, you know, not interesting. I'd like to see the blood moon. It just means that everybody who's involved in religion can talk about blood moons as if they're talking about the moon red as blood, and that is not the case. When the sky window is reestablished around our Earth and the light of the sun passes through that, 1 month of the year will be red. And not only that, but our current moon, according to most ancient mythologies, is not the moon we started with. At one time, supposedly, Venus, the planet Venus, was our moon. And there was a war in heaven, and Venus was gone, and our current moon was here. There's also the possibility that Mars at one time would have been a moon of the Earth. Doesn't seem likely, because these are planets that are much bigger than our moon. Our moon is very, very tiny compared to those, and you know, you have to abide by the laws of physics. The only problem is that we don't know what the laws of physics are, but we're about to find out. All right, let's see here. The moon looked amazing around 6 here. We have clear skies. The moon looked large around that time. I need to get out there. Let's go ahead and shut this down so I can go. Now, yeah, if my camera was portable, I'd be out there so we could all look at it together. Hello, everyone from Subaru 68. Hello. 12 degrees there. You know, it's 60 here. It was 60 here today. It's probably in the 40s. I made a rule that I would not sleep outdoors anymore unless it was above the 30s. And I guess a while back it was exactly 40 degrees, and I used that as an excuse to come in the house. And now I'm sleeping in the house all the way up to about 45 degrees. So I'll be sleeping in the house tonight. In fact, I got a sleeping bag, so it'd probably be easier for me to sleep outside, but I'm sleeping indoors. I've been having sleeping bags, but I went to Goodwill, and they had one of those military mummy bags that are $100 online. And it was hanging there for 15 bucks, and it looked really good. And I didn't even measure it, because I figured if I bought it, I could give it, you know, some subscriber come down to help me. I'd have an extra sleeping bag for him or something. But I brought it home, and it was an extra large, which is what I need. I'm very tall. And I didn't think I could use it because I've got a mummy bag here, and I'm like a mummy. I can't move in it. I can't get comfortable. But this military mummy bag, I can move around in it. So that's what I've been sleeping in here for a couple of months now. All right, it's 2:30 a.m. over there. Go for Kitchcool. You're a very good brother. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, he's in Manchester. That's England, North England. Probably really cold over there too. Oh, missing my dreads. Okay, let's pull them out so you can see them. Let's get more TV. Uncle Nesta. All right, man. That's cool. Oh, Mark has Nesta. Is that Mark? Hey, Mark. That's really cool. ABD. I don't know. Yeah, then there's a different color every month after the correction. That is correct. Thank you, John Casey. You apparently have been watching my videos and paying close attention. Welcome, Uncle Nesta. Oh, somebody took their message down. That's okay. We love you. Yeah, no such thing as planets, only wandering stars. Well, you know what? I've never been to any of them. I can't tell you what they're made of. Some of them are made out of fire, from what the scientists say. And some of them are made out of rocks, and some of them are gaseous. They all look the same to me, so I don't know, and I won't get into that fight. But I do know that the stars that are out there that they call stars, which are supposed to be as big and as bright as our sun, likely are, because they're way, way out there. From my observations, I can tell that they're not close. The planets, such as, what are they from the sun? It's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. Those are all moving really quick compared to the stars, so they must be much closer. And also, I know that, like, I can call people on Skype and ask them what they see in the sky, and they won't see the same planets that I see, but they will often see the same stars. So that also is indicative of them being very far out there. Oh, that's what time it happens. Okay. So he's not this Kitchcool. It's not 2:30 over there. It's probably like midnight. All right. Hello from Hawaii. Hello, Clayform 14. We both said hello. Oh, Uncle Nesta and Mark have both said hello. That's cool. Okay. Howdy all again from Suzanne Johnson. Love you, Henry. Love you, Uncle Nesta. I tell him that all the time. I told him first, so I could get the glory. I love all of y'all. I told all of you first. Blood moon in 2035. I think it kind of matters where you are too. There's blood moons happen at different spots on the earth, and you can't see them from the other part of the earth, because of the way the earth moves. It's your moon may be a blood moon only for an hour or two, and then it takes 24 hours for everybody to see the moon. Slee stacks rule. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Slee stacks do rule. They're like, in case you don't know, a slee stack is like half human and half pterodactyl. So they're actual, real scientific biological creatures named slee stacks. We just never get to see them because they canceled the show. What are your thoughts on the fish returning to the Dead Sea? Ezekiel 24:7. Not familiar with the scripture. I hate to say anything, but just to throw it out there for whoever is interested. The planet Neptune is always associated with water. In fact, scientifically, there's some kind of a liquid associated with every planet, but Neptune itself in mythology is always associated with water. It is possible that after the correction of our solar system, that Neptune itself, which could be a Dead Sea, will once again return to life. So a lot of the fish that are on this planet, and in fact, I say this about a lot of things, is when there comes a separating of the sheep and the goats, the separating of the male stud goats from the flock that Jesus talked about in the book of Matthew, it seems that some people will be left here on the earth. It says the meek shall inherit the earth. but the wicked will not. So the wicked are going to be sent somewhere else. Well, it's possible that a lot of the creatures that are on this planet are going to be sent somewhere else, because it talks about lions and wolves not eating sheep. It may be that the way that's accomplished is by separating lions and from sheep. And so there may be planets with other animals on it that we don't have here on the earth. And it's possible that a lot of the fish that are in our seas are not going to be here on the earth, because if you think about it, the seas are going to change quite a bit. We've got saltwater oceans, we've got freshwater tributaries, and they're different temperatures than they would have been before the flood, and probably after the restoration there'll be different temperatures. And a lot of the creatures that live on this planet have to live in environments that probably will no longer exist. Right now, polar bears are not comfortable in warm climates. A lot of animals are not comfortable in warm climates, and so there may be planets that are farther from the sun where those kind of animals actually live. It's not like we won't have bears, but who knows? And not only that, but a lot of the things that they teach in evolution are kind of true. That animals that take cold temperatures will die off when it gets hot, and animals that are good for hot temperatures will die off when it gets cold. But the ones that are able to adapt don't. And so there's a lot of creatures that are on this in our fossil record that may not belong here. They may have just been here during the creative process, which was interrupted by the flood. And I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just telling you that's a possibility, because there are scriptures about putting everything where it belongs after the restoration. And I don't think that's just about people. These people are not going to be sent to another planet with all the bad sheep and all of the bad bears and all the bad lizards. It's possible they'll be sent to some planet where there's just the species that are best suited for that planet. And it may be that there's planets where no humans will live, just those animals. Let's see. I made your day. That's Uncle Nesta and Mark. Get more TV. Asteroids are the fallen angels who fly close to the firmament, then fall back to Earth as they are tired of flying and fall. I'm not going to make fun of that, because there are scriptures that speak of angels as living beings that have visited our planet. But there are other scriptures very obviously speaking about the planets as angels. The word angel means messenger. And so obviously a living being that comes and talks to you to tell you something he heard from somewhere else, that would be a messenger. But, if you think about the fact that every culture from the ancient past looked to the planets for direction, that would make them messengers as well. There's no reason to believe that. The Bible speaks of the planets as messengers. So, the fallen angels may be the planets that have fallen to the earth, asteroids, whatever. I have been paying on a 1-acre property in Ozark for 2 years now. Hopefully me and my daughter will move there next year or two. Well, maybe one day that could be one of my trips. Where will the waters flow? Well, let's see. In the ancient past, it said on the first day God created the heavens and earth, and then another day he created light, and another day he created land animals, another day he created monsters. And one of the things it says that he created the waters that are above the expanse or above the atmosphere, and the waters that are beneath the atmosphere. And it says the waters beneath the atmosphere, the seas, were put all in one place. Now, when the flood came and those waters above the atmosphere fell to the earth, suddenly we've got seas everywhere. We don't have all our seas in one place. But I would imagine that after the flood somewhere, or after the flood waters are returned and a lot of the earth becomes dry again, dry land, a lot of the mountains disappear, as this prophecy says, that there will be a one particular sea in one area of the earth, and that those tributaries, who knows how that works, because it says that before the flood there was no rain, so these tributaries probably won't be fed by rain. But it says that a mist covered everything, and so perhaps that mist ends up in our tributaries flowing into the sea. I don't know. Maybe there will be waters beneath the earth You know, the underground springs that allow the water to keep circulating. I don't know. This is not the Science Channel. This is Sustenance and Covering. But Science Channel isn't Science Channel either. So I don't feel bad. That's awesome. I think about that every day, but no money. Don't worry, we ain't got much time left, I don't believe. I'm really hoping that very, very soon. Well, it's this thing. Here's another thing is if Jared Kushner is the Antichrist, and if Satan wants to be in a good, healthy body, he is not going to be doing this 70 years from now. I really believe that we've got about a decade before things are really happening. We should be experiencing something by then. And that's another thing is I've always felt like I'm going to live forever and I'm going to be part of this movement. And maybe I'm wrong, but I really strongly feel that. And I'm an old man. So this can't happen 30 years from now. So, you know, if you don't ever get your own place, you never get to work on a forest, you never get to, you know, plant fruit trees, that's okay. We'll have millions of years where those things will plant themselves. Okay. We need water. Yes, we do. I'm certain that, well, you know, and one of the things it says in the book of Revelation is that the trees of life came back after Christ returned. And they grew on either side of the waters of life, the river of life. And that the leaves of the trees were for healing, and that the trees produced fruit 12 months of the year. So it's constant supply of fruit for humans to eat without working. But they're on either side of the waters that flow out of the city. And so there is going to be waters of life. How they flow, I don't know. And what, you know, with no rain, I don't know. Yeah, Matt Wilcox, the educated wicked will take a short swim in a lake of fire. The end. Very possible. I've always said it's not likely, and I still don't think it's likely. But you know, if humans can only live on this earth because of its distance from the sun and its rotation and its angle, then for humans to live anywhere else, they would have to be the same distance from the sun, same speed, same rotation. And so if there is a place for humans to live, it would be on the other side of the sun. So I've always felt like when it says that they'll be cast into the sun, it's not that they're literally going to be cast into the sun and burned up, but that they're going to have to pass through the sun in order to get to that other planet. Now hear me out. I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. The scripture that talks about casting the wicked into the sun is about separating the wheat from the chaff. I've always been told that you cannot separate the wheat from the weeds until harvest time. So you've got these plants that look like wheat. You take those and throw them in the fire. Then you take the wheat and you don't throw it in the fire. But that's not what the verse is about. It's about taking all of the wheat and weeds and separating the seed from the chaff. There's a lot of verses in the Bible about the seed. A seed cannot come to life until after it dies. So it's pulling up the plant itself, winnowing it, getting the seed out, and throwing the fibers of the plant into the fire. So it's possible these wicked have to pass through the fire on their way to the other planet, and they come out on the other side as a seed and have to start all over again. You know, we're given 1,000 years after that process before Satan is released back into this world again somehow. I have no idea what that means, but it just makes sense. If God did everything in a 7-day cycle, we've got 6,000 years. A yalm, it's 1,000 years. It's a day. It's whatever. A yalm is simply a time period. And that's a Hebrew word, yalm. That's where we get our English word day in the Old Testament, usually. And so that would make a full week. You know, we got 6,000 years, which is 6 days of hard labor. That's where we're at right now. And then we get 1,000 years of rest. And at the end of the 1,000 years of rest, then Satan and his followers are somehow given some kind of second chance. Oh, we at an hour yet? Yeah, 59, 57. So let's go and see what else everybody's saying. Dope Zebra says hello. Wow, that's kind of neat. I've never heard that name before, so that means we got at least one person here that either I don't know or no one's told me about. Can't beat maple tree water. Katie Cool says love it. It makes me feel good. I mean, it'd really be good if I could get up here and talk like a crazy man and everybody bought into it, you know, because I feel a little uncomfortable saying things that without, if you know, you've ever seen any of my scripted videos, I always make it so there's no way that anybody can make fun of me because I just share straight scriptures. I'm not really able to do this. I don't know that I could do this if I had time to write a script, because a lot of what I'm saying is just speculation. I think if you ever decide to make fun of me by bringing this video back out after it's proven that I'm wrong, I hope you remember to put the part in where I say this is just speculation. Ow, my wife hopes I come back well endowed. Your wife will be busy with a lot of other, well, let's I don't believe we'll have wives. Let's just say that I don't believe there will be any legal obligation for anybody to just stick with one dude. She'll like the variety. Let's see here. Only thing I like about March in Ohio is maple syrup. I can hear that. You know, as a diabetic, I'm not supposed to eat that stuff, but I sure do when I get a chance. God's protection will be removed from the wicked and thus subject to the fire immolation of the soul of the sun. Sounds good to me. You know, that's one of those verses in the Bible where it says that Cain killed Abel. And then after that, it talks about how anyone harming Cain will be cursed or something like that. As I've looked at that, it's not just Cain, but it's all of Cain's seed. If you look at how the world works, you know, I know a lot of really, really good people, and nothing ever goes right for them. And the wicked seems like they never have anything go wrong for them. The wicked just get richer and more popular and, you know, more stuff. And I think that's what it's about. It's like good people don't do harm. And so the wicked are pretty much protected from getting revenge. You know, the wicked are always getting revenge on the righteous. You know, that millions of people die every year. And it's a lot of times it's the hands of the wicked, but the wicked rarely die at the hands of the righteous. In fact, it probably never happens. You know, even if somebody seemingly is righteous, if they're killing, then that would be like proof that they weren't righteous. Yeah, I don't want Satan to have a second chance. No, I'll tell you what, he ain't going to have a second chance with you. The Bible says that all of those of us who can actually survive this wicked system without being wicked will never experience the second death. So there's something in there called the second death. I suspect the second death is very similar to the first death, except that the first death is first and the second death is second. Does that make sense linguistically? So a lot of people are going to experience something called the second death, but the righteous will never experience a second death. We're not going to experience this again. Satan will never again be able to do any harm to any of us after the 6,000 years is over and the solar system repairs itself. I want Satan to repent. I have a feeling that's what it's about, because if you look at the story of the prodigal son, there's two brothers. One of them goes off and destroys his inheritance. He takes his inheritance before his time. So see, in the Bible, Satan gets his inheritance at the end of the 7,000 years, but Satan took his inheritance at the very beginning of the 7,000 years, just like the prodigal son took his inheritance before its time. And then he destroyed his inheritance with foolishness. Same as Satan. Satan has destroyed his inheritance with foolishness. This earth could have been his. But then he goes off. He realizes he's destroyed everything and he repents. So you may very well get your wish. It looks very much like he's going to repent. Me too. Okay. Tony says she also hopes that. Satan gets his at the end of the millennium. You know, one of the things that everybody seems to get, or most people seem to get, is everlasting shame. And so any of us who have, you know, I was in the military, and it's not so much that I plan on spending all of eternity thinking about that, but it's one of those things that I thought I could save the world by joining the military of the good guys. And so now I have to be ashamed of that. And I think everybody, if you've owned a car, if you've had a job, if you've gotten married, if you've done anything that's not part of natural law, then you'll experience that everlasting shame. At least you'll have the memory that you lived like this before you lived the way we're going to live. Oh, say Cain's seed is the Kenites. Yeah, I think that's what it means linguistically. But I think a lot of people are the seed of Cain, and it's not that they're the biological seed of Cain, but they're the seed of Cain in the same way that that Cain was the seed of Satan. Because if you look at the Bible, Cain was the biological offspring of Adam. It says very clearly that Adam made love to his wife, and she became pregnant with Cain. That's in the Bible. But then near the end, Jesus revealed, or Paul revealed, that Cain was of the wicked one. And so that the way that's worded is a lot of biological offspring are of, you know, Jesus was of Joseph or of Mary. Adam was of God, and Cain was of Satan. So it's a progression of, you know, who's the father and who's the child. But a lot of the verses in the Bible seem to be about multiple fathers, which is impossible. Biologically, you can only have one father. So the second father is the spiritual father. And the spiritual aspect in God's eyes, or in the Bible narrative, is every bit as real as the biological connection. So, you know, there's something going on there that we'll all understand one day. Maybe right now we can just guess. I could not sin even if I tried. Well, none of us can. You know, if you're using electricity, you know, you think God wants us to, you know, rape the earth of petroleum and coal to make electricity. You know, you're eating agricultural products that's made from that. You know, it's hard labor. God said that you know, you're supposed to rest. How many of us rest? All right, let's see here. Joseph or Padron says, no, it does not. Time is a human artificial. Time does not exist. Certainly, you can feel the effects of time, but it is like it's not something you put. It's not like matter or energy. But I know there are people that teach that time doesn't exist, and I'm not going to badmouth that because I don't understand what they're saying. But you know, I feel like our time is running out, not just for the civilization, but for this live stream. Trying my best to get to the end of the comments before I slam the door shut. Usually, my good buddy Al Toledo takes care of all that grown-up stuff. Right, I'm out. Good luck to all of you. Hope you have a great day. You are all amazing. Well, Dope Zebra, I don't know who you are, if you had a different name before, but love you and thank you for joining us tonight. And after this is over, maybe you can send me a message and tell me if you are new or if you are somebody that's been here before under a different name. Yeah, that's right. Time is real in this reality. How we measure passing of time is a social construct. You know, if you honestly, all time is artificial currently because time is the measure of how long it takes for the planets to do their dance. And the planets are not doing their dance. They're not even visible. You know, they're like little teeny tiny dots out in the middle of nowhere that scientists have to measure. But there will come a day when, you know, our time will be measured by what color the moon is, what is in eclipse and what is not in eclipse. And, you know, whether it's day or night, you know, nighttime and daytime, those are very real. Okay. No, time is not the equation equal. Don't y'all start fighting, especially you, Joseph. We're trying to stick to some stuff that's easy enough to prove. Okay, John Casey. Hey, okay. Yeah, equal him. Nothing else is required in this equation. Time is not a fact. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That really does make sense. You know, here's something that Matt Wilcox says: Satan had sex with Eve at the same time Adam, so she had twins by two separate eggs being fertilized. This is something I've always said, based on what I have read in the mythologies of other cultures. You know, if you read the mythology of the Mayans and Incans, it was the serpent god that impregnated the queen, the mother queen, the mother goddess. Same thing with the Egyptian mythology. It was Satan, or it was Osiris who impregnated Isis. But it may not have been biological. That's the only thing, is I keep looking at this and thinking there's no way in the world that a biological mating between Satan and Eve took place at the same time that there was biological mating between Adam and Eve. It seems to me that something else had to have entered into Eve that was not. In other words, we know that an egg cell is fertilized by a sperm cell. And that's what we're told by scientists. Maybe there are three different things that have to make this up. But it's possible that one of those things is spiritual. It's something that we can't even measure, you know, like a soul or something. But somehow, all cultures around the world testify to the fact that the serpent god impregnated women and created these hybrid beings or evil people. I can't explain how that happened, but I do not think it was biological. I'm almost certain it wasn't biological. And that's gonna come out more as I finish up the Melchizedek script eventually. Oh, just slam the door. Okay, yeah. Well, no, I got to read the rest of the comments before I'm in this. Downside up with WTH. Thanks, Patricia. Going to have a colder in New Hampshire. Thanks, Henry. Love you, brother. It's frigid near Cleveland. Yeah, if you put Zeus in the picture, then yeah. Zeus is also the serpent god. Zeus is the god that supposedly was the father of Alexander the Great, because Philip, who was his mother's, you know, was supposedly his father, said that when he went into his mother on their wedding night, she was in bed with a huge serpent, and so he never had sex with her. So there you go. And then later, when Alexander went to the oracle at Delphi and asked if his father's death had been avenged, the oracle at Delphi said, "He's not your father. Your father is Zeus." So there you go. Downside up demons. Downside up. Columbus is cold tonight too. Okay, Carlos is looking for friends up there in Columbus, Ohio. So if you're from there, give him a call. What are we talking about? Have a good night, y'all. Got to read every comment, but I'm going to sleep. Commenting. Good night, Uncle Nesta. Love you. Love Mark. Love Marshmallow. Love. That's everybody. Patricia, Carlos, all of y'all. Love you. And as always, if you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.